Right. Good afternoon, students. My name is Andrea Kaikala, and I'm the Executive Director of Washington Business Week. Thank you so much for joining us for our speaker series. Today, we have Mac Johnston here from Microsoft. He has been on the board of directors of Washington Business Week and served in leadership for our organization for many, many years. He's a past president. He's been the chair of the week. He's mentored students as a company advisor. He's been a speaker, and now he serves in leadership. He is with Microsoft. He is the principal program manager lead. He's been with Microsoft for 12 and a half years, and before that had 13 years at PEMCO. He's going to tell you a lot more about himself and what it's like to work for PEMCO. Work for Microsoft, actually. I would like to thank PEMCO Insurance, though, as the sponsor of the speaker series, and now turn it over to Mac with Microsoft.
Hey folks, nice to meet you. Actually, I do think it's funny because that little Freudian slip, I used to work at PEMCO, which we'll talk about in a second too. So like I said, my name is Mac Johnston. I've been involved with Washington Business Week for many, many years now. You can see by the gray hair it's coming out the side of my head. But I have a huge passion for the program. And so I'm excited and I'm waiting to be here to talk about kind of my career path and progression. And then, I think there's some questions we'll answer also later. So like you said, I've been here for about 12 years at Microsoft. I expected to start here for only 3 years. That was my original journey of, hey, if I'll go there for a couple of years, learn some things, try something new. And the one thing I found out about Microsoft pretty quickly was it definitely was not a boring company. And so each year, each 6 months, there was a new challenge, new opportunity for me. So basically, it enabled me to recreate my career over and over again for the last 12 years. A lot of people ask, so why did you go to Microsoft? How did you end up there? I have a passion for technology. I'll put this right now. You do not want me to code. Like, you do not want me to write a line of code. I haven't touched it since college, pretty much, I believe. Well, other than dabbling on the side. But it's not my forte. But I've always loved technology, and I always love how you can use technology as an enabler and the impact it has across all the people in the world. And you think about how many people are touching products or services that Microsoft has created, we're talking in the billions. And so it drew me to a local company, but also one that has the scale that Microsoft does. A little bit about myself. I'm married. I have 2 kids. They're a couple slides, a couple pictures there. We are a little crazy. Like the one with the tinfoil is, we assumed there were aliens coming to attack us, so we had to make sure we protected our brains, and then we made wands while we were on vacation once. I do love the outdoors. It's one thing why I've stayed in the Pacific Northwest for so long. It's just one of those things where you can experience all 4 climates, and you can ski if you like to ski, you can swim, you can surf, you can do almost anything in the state. And much to my wife, chagrin, I love dumb comedies. So if anyone loves like Tommy Boy or any of those series, I cannot get enough of those. Fun fact, when I was in high school, if you look at the bottom corner, I had a mullet. And just to let you know, it was cool back then. And I'm hearing the trend is coming back. I'm not going to regrow one, but it actually was cool back then. Clearly, I did not have a fashion sense because I've done the mixture of tie-dye, ripped jeans, mullet, necklace, earrings, and my lacrosse, I guess, shirt of some sort. So it was not a pretty sight back then. Many people have told me that I'm very sarcastic and somewhat impatient, which I think is both a positive and a negative sometimes. I'm rereading the Harry Potter series. It's something that I read many, many years ago. Now my daughter had just finished the series, and so I thought it'd be fun to reread it, and I'm hooked. Love to travel. One thing that drives my family somewhat crazy is I love public transportation. So whether we're going to go to Paris or London or New York, wherever it is, I hate taking Ubers. I love getting on a subway or a bus and just exploring and kind of watching the sights go by. And the experience of kind of mingling with the crowd, and you're on these tubes and people are playing music. It's one thing that really kind of jazzes me. And one thing I'm very transparent about for the last year since I recognized it, but for now that I look back many, many, many years, I've been battling anxiety and depression, and it's been kind of an ongoing struggle for me, and I found many ways to cope with it and keep it under control. But it is an effort to make sure that, especially in these COVID times, that I'm finding ways to keep myself mentally fit. I dropped in some slides or some links there. One is to my LinkedIn, so anyone's welcome to go out there and do an intro with me if you'd like. And Movember, every year for November, I grow a mustache, a hideous looking mustache, for men's health, and I focus the money on men's mental health. So I'll give you a little journey of how I got to where I am. Born in New York City, again, many, many moons ago. I wasn't there long enough to get an accent. I think that's probably the one thing I wish I did have, a cool New York accent. But I can say I do have relatives there. We have an Italian heritage throughout New York, which is kind of cool. But parents relocated here when I was a kid. I went through the Bellevue school system. At that time, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I was kind of following the crowd with most of, I like talking, I like business, I like to learn about stuff, but mostly, clearly from that picture, I like to grow a mullet and play lacrosse was probably my top 2 priorities back then. But I didn't really have a clue. I didn't really have an understanding of what was out there. And back in those days, and that makes me sound really old, but back in those days, there really wasn't anything like Business Week or opportunities to meet business professionals other than your parents and maybe their neighbors. There was an opportunity to really understand what are the options out there to kind of help plot a course early on. And so I did fine in high school, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to college. And I ended up at the University of San Diego. Again, I went there, I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. I'm liking my communication courses. I'm liking my business courses. Great. I'll get majors in those. That seems like the best thing to do. Clearly with not any thought of what was going to happen after college, because I didn't know at the time. And so that was kind of the first couple years of college. As I got more and more refined, my junior and senior year, I started to really realize, wow, if I combine business and communication, there's a whole world out there. There's marketing, there's sales, there's general management, there's kind of everything. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll finish off this degree. And then I ended up graduating. I moved back up into the Seattle area, and I worked for a small consulting company I kind of stumbled on that was using those skill sets. So I was able to go to companies and help them either form teams or plan strategy. And again, it was, we'll talk about this in a second. It was through a network that I had built through college and post-college. I was able to find that first job. But it gave me an opportunity to kind of test those skills in communication and business. I did that for a couple of years, and I realized that consulting was fun because I was able to work with many, many companies. But it was feast or famine. There's times where you're working a lot and you get paid a lot. And there's times where you're not working a lot and you're not getting paid a lot. And so I wanted something a little bit more stable. So I call it kind of work V1, which is I started Pemco Insurance. Back to Andrew's point. And so I was there for 13 years and a whole host of things, but most were in kind of that general management area. And so whether it was in claims or customer service or shared services or technology, I was using those degrees and those skills I had developed both in high school and in college as kind of a foundation to build upon. All that time, I was always kind of dabbling in technology. And I love the thought of, hey, where we were back then, there's all this new cool technology that's coming out. And I'm watching these companies that are being, basically born in the cloud and created. It's amazing. How do we use that technology to enable our company at the time also? So we were going through huge fundamental change, which I think was awesome. I got to a point there where I was like, I don't know really what I want to do next. I like and love Pemco. It's a fun place to work, great learning experience, but I want to do something bigger. I want to work for a global company. I don't know if I want to relocate. And so I started thinking, well, let's at least continue to refine my education. So I decided to go back and get an MBA. And so for 2.5, 3 years, I did kind of nights and weekends MBA and focused on change leadership. During that time, I was also interviewing other companies. One of them was Boeing, one of them was Microsoft, and one of them was Starbucks. And again, network, an individual I played lacrosse with said, hey, you know what? I'm on a team right now, but I'm actually moving to a different team. I'm sure they're a backfill position. I love my manager. You should come talk to this person. So I'm like, I'm already looking at Microsoft, don't know much about your team, but by all means. And so I came in and chatted with this individual. His name was Sean. And then I came in next day, talked to his boss, and I basically fell in love with the group. I said, hey, I think I really want to work in this group in Microsoft. I'm already applying here. And so I gave him my resume. And lo and behold, a week later, I get a call saying, we'd love you to come interview for this job. One, because Sean had been a reference for me, but also an opportunity to kind of know more about the space and his management philosophy. This is Sean's boss. And it felt like it fit for me. At Microsoft, I've done a whole host of things. Again, like I said, I've recreated this role many, many times. When I first joined, I was a non-people manager for 2 years. And it was just kind of refreshing to be accountable just for my own work. But naturally, I kind of gravitate towards those types of roles as leading people. And so after that, I was, moved back into a people manager role, and I've been there ever since. I think about the type of work I do. It's protecting products and services before they get out to end customers, make sure they're clean from malware. And it's taking technology and coupling that with people to make sure that the end result is for something valuable for our customers. And the cool thing is, I really love what I do. I love that I get to work with these wonderful individuals. Every day I'm in awe because there are so many smarter people than I am walking these halls. It does remind me that I'm a horrible software engineer, so you don't want me writing code. But the cool thing about kind of the program management discipline is you get to solve problems. So I spend most of my day trying to figure out, there's a customer problem out there. How can my team work with the software engineering team to basically solve that problem? So that's kind of where I am today. Work V3, who knows? This company is ever changing, and the world is ever changing, and COVID has made us think differently about our work and our careers and so forth. And so I'm up for the journey. That's the cool part. So that kind of got me, hopefully that covered most of it. Andrew, do you want more detail about?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was unmuting myself. I think something that most people are hearing all the time in COVID. And so awesome to learn more about you, Mac, and your journey. As you can see, students, he has had an amazing amount of different experiences in some real pillars of our community, our Washington community. And so we have some general questions, which we're asking all of our presenters, and thank you students and teachers who submitted those. And so we will jump into our general questions, and then we will go into the industry specific questions for Microsoft. So first off,
do you want me to stop presenting though?
Oh, no. Oh, perfect. No, keep presenting. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, no, this is all I have for slides. So I wasn't sure if you want me to take these down.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. All right. So our first question is for you. Is there anything non-negotiable for you as an entrepreneur, as a leader of people, a leader there in Microsoft?
Yeah, I think the non-negotiable applies probably to almost any job, whether that's startup, mid-size, large company. For me, it's trust. Like the one thing that will harm any relationship, if you're working with me or for me, is breaking that level of trust. And I understand it takes a while to build that level of trust, but trust means doing what you say you're going to do. Making sure that you follow up on the things you're doing. Being honest in your day-to-day activities, being open. But that's a non-negotiable. Like the how skilled you are in technology or everything else really doesn't make a difference to me if you can't prove and demonstrate trust.
That is a great answer, and I think will be a theme throughout your lives, students, is how important building trust and ethics and integrity are. So, Mac, what was the most important part of your whole business journey?
Ooh, I think I'd say probably the thing that got me to where I am today was building a network. So I'd call that important in terms of every opportunity I had to interact with individuals, whether that's through volunteering, whether that's through social activities, whether that's through work-related stuff. I always kind of took a mental note of, all right, so great, I met this person. I want to follow up with them because they seem interesting or they have information about this I'd love to know more about. But building that network early, because the reality is I look back at all the jobs I've either interviewed for or was asked to go do. I would probably say 90% of them were through other individuals versus just sending a resume into a stack of jobs. And building that network early can really pay off, especially as you go through high school and onto your first career or in college, whatever it may be. Identifying individuals and building that network and maintaining over time is critical to do.
It is so very important. And students, you saw that Mac put up his LinkedIn profile and invited you to join him on that. So those of you who are over 17 and can create that professional profile, Mac's inviting you to link in with him. And so make sure to always take adults and leaders up on that. So hopefully Mac will get lots of a great friend.
Send them on. Send them on. I'm ready.
Great. All right. So what were the greatest professional failures, and what did that teach you?
Oh, it's probably more than I can count on, more than my hands and toes. I'll pick on one that I think probably has stuck with me my entire career. I'll attribute up to being kind of blinded by an outcome and not really trusting my intuition. And what had happened was, this is in my last company, I was having to hire a new manager for a vacancy. And I really, my entire, I guess he was saying, hire someone from within the team. Like you should, I was really kind of driven by, it'd be cool to promote someone from within the team. It looks so great. My manager would care about it. The team would be so happy about it. And I went through and interviewed this candidate, which I knew in my gut, my intuition was telling me, this person wanted to be a manager, but they were not ready. But I still made the mistake of saying, because I want to hire someone from within the team, I'm going to compromise on what's going on. I'm going to not follow what I think is the right path to do, and I end up hiring this individual. And I paid the price for many years. There were ups and downs. And he finally moved on. What I look back is remembering of, I need to make sure is when I'm going to put someone in a role that I can hold up, that I know they'll be successful. I'm doing it for the right reasons, versus it'll look good if we hire someone from within the team.
Definitely.
So that's probably the one that's really stuck with me. There's also been a few times where, especially early in my career, I didn't speak up when I should have. And I think what's great about kind of these new generations coming to the workforce is they're very vocal, which is fantastic, and they're willing to speak up and say what's on their mind. When I first started my career, I wasn't confident enough to do that, and there are times I probably should have said stuff to stop a decision being made or an outcome being made. It probably would have ended better if I would have spoke my mind, even though it would have been an uncomfortable thing for me to do.
Definitely. That's great advice for our students. Do you need to go into college to work in your field?
No, I always remind people, like Bill Gates never graduated from college. I think it does help. It depends, and I'd say a caveat that I say, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a software developer and you are amazing at it right now, no, you wouldn't have to go to college. If it's something where you want to, go into the marketing arena or something that may require that deeper level of focus, yes, it would probably be helpful to have a degree. I always tell people education can never hurt you. That's just the reality of it. The more you learn and the more you absorb, it's not just about getting a piece of paper, but the more you can kind of go through life with this growth mindset, willingness to learn and grow, the better off you're going to be. It's going to open so many more doors for you.
That's awesome. Did you do any specific extracurricular activities in high school to prepare yourself for your job now?
Yeah, I did do extracurriculars in high school. So I played sports. I volunteered a lot. I was in some clubs. I think probably the biggest thing that prepared me was, at the time I was raised by my single mother and my sister. And so we weren't well off. And so I actually ended up working. I had jobs all through high school. And the one thing that really taught me was, ethics, going back to the trust factor of, being on work when I said I was going to be at work, following through. And so I think out of all the stuff I did, having a job probably prepared me the most in terms of interacting with customers, and learning the kind of the basic philosophy of working with other team members. I would say, high school is a great opportunity also to show that you're well-rounded. If there's an opportunity to join clubs, the more you can build that network, but also you're expanding your horizons. You may uncover something you really enjoy doing, and that might be a future career for you.
What advice would you give someone who wanted to work at Microsoft?
Other than the network piece, I think you have to love technology. And I don't mean it's your one end all be all, but Microsoft is a software company. We focus on making sure that we provide solutions to individuals, to companies, to governments, to you name it, to basically make them more productive. But the foundation of that is software. And so if you really love technology and the problems it can solve, that's kind of, you need to kind of have that in your DNA. If it's I'm not going to sell software at any place, probably not the right company, because the way we move and the speed in which we do things, if you're not kind of all on board, it's just like you're rowing a scull or crew boat, and you're rolling backwards for everyone else to run forwards. It'll really throw you off.
Yeah. So here's a great student question. So if I wanted a job at Microsoft, does my online presence matter?
Yes. I'd say if you want a job anywhere, your online presence matters. Most, if not all, hiring managers right now, when they get a resume in or an applicant, the first thing they do is probably go to LinkedIn, and for a whole bunch of reasons. One, to see kind of, all right, so does the resume match up with what they're saying on LinkedIn? Sometimes they want to look at who they're connected to see if there's any associations. They may say, oh, I know this individual. But yes, it not only matters from that perspective, but also there are a lot of companies nowadays that, if it's depending on level of security or what kind of background is required, they will search your social media history to make sure there's nothing out there that could be incriminating or an issue. And so I always remind people, whatever you put out on social media, and I tell my kids this all the time, whatever you put out there is going to be there forever. You may think you can delete it, it's there forever. And so I think, the more you can start building up, I'll pick on LinkedIn, it's an easy one. The more you can start building up that LinkedIn resume, that's where people are going to go to. Fast forward 5, 6, 7 years from now, if even that, written resume is going to be a thing of the past. It's going to be all through, a LinkedIn type model where it's just, here's my information. Go ahead and take a look at it.
And that is great advice to our students. Always watch what you're posting there on the internet, because it live forever. And I always like to ask myself before I post, would my grandma be proud of me?
Exactly. Yep.
The answer is no. It's probably not going to be possible. So there's a lot of rumors about work life at Microsoft. So what's the best part about a job at Microsoft?
Oh, the best part. I love solving problems, and so for me personally, it's every day kind of feels like a new experience when you get to come in here and there's some sort of challenge that you have to work together with a group to solve it. If you would have asked me that question 5, 6, 7 years pre Satya as our new CEO, I may have answered differently in terms of the pay or something else, because it was a different culture back then. It was much more, everyone's working 68 hours a week. Your week, you go as fast as you can. Just look out for yourself. But the culture here has changed so radically that it feels like a new organization, a new company. And those who haven't read Satya Nadella's book or know much about him, he's an amazing individual. And you talk about kind of trust. What you see is generally what you get with him. He is that level of individual, and he's created this culture that the expectation now is that we're all working together, we're all in this together, we're all trying to solve customer problems. But he really embodies that, and so when you walk into this company every single day, you just feel like we're a different company.
Oh, fantastic. I think that some of the rumors that they're talking about is the rumor of how much fun you guys have there. Is there really foosball tables and ping pong and big cafeterias?
There are, yes. So we have a couple different, right now a lot of people working from home. I come into the office every couple of days. But yes, I'll say pre-COVID and post-COVID, when we get back to normal, there's foosball tables, ping pong tables. There are cafeterias at every single place. There are little luncheonette areas. Every summer there's a huge thing called, it's called Hack Week, but basically it's where the whole company kind of gets together and they have this huge, almost like carnival event on the Microsoft campus where they have free food and drinks and all these cool demos and giveaways. Most groups have some sort of social activity almost every week, so they'll have like a hallway party where they just kind of gather and, catch up and drink. But it is a fun place to work. Like when I first started, I was in shock, just going down the hall, people had music playing, right now I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops. I mean, it's a company that just, it allows you to be who you are and who you want to be, versus having to pretend about, I have to dress up a suit tie every single day to make sure they think I'm smart. No, it's, whatever you bring as a personality is what they want you to bring as a person.
Awesome. That sounds like an amazing place, for our students. Yeah. So we know that you don't know how to code. One of the questions is, do I need to know how to code to work at Microsoft? But let's talk about the different jobs at Microsoft. There's got to be so many. You guys are like a mini country, basically. What else could you do at Microsoft?
Yeah. So again, I think I know how to code. I'm just not good at it, to be clear. I'm really not good at it. But yeah, so I think if one of the main jobs here is basically a software engineer. And what they're doing is taking a requirement that a customer needs and writing software to basically enable that to happen through technology. So, if someone, is colorblind, they're trying to figure out a way, how do I make the code interact so that the colors don't blur together, or it's got a reader that explains what color is versus not. So that's a vast majority. But yes, if software engineering is not your thing, there's marketing. So how do you actually go out and let people understand what are the cool things Microsoft is doing? What are our ad campaigns look like? How do we work with our partners so they'll want to sell more software and services to our customers? For those who like kind of supply chain logistics, we've got a whole army of individuals working on, from the time a design is thought of to the time a surface goes out the door from a supply, all the things that happen. Think of Boeing's like supply chain. It's very similar to all these components that have to be embedded in to get a final device out there that works correctly. And so we have a lot of people work on the supply chain piece. There's definitely people who love selling software, and they get to go out and work and solve customer problems. And then there's, I'll call it kind of general operations. So I think back to my last company, how do you make sure that, the right billing for a customer gets done? How do you make sure that, the revenue is booked on an appropriate level and appropriate time? And then there's my role, which is a program manager lead. And so program managers, basically, we go talk to customers to understand what their biggest pain points are, where the biggest gaps are, and then we come back and basically translate that into something called a scenario. Say, all right, so if customer A didn't like A, B, and C, if we did this, would that solve that problem? Yes, we think so. So then we go work with our software engineering team to say, here's how we see the problem. Here's how we think we want to go fix it. Can you write some software to actually enable that? And so our role is really to allow the software engineers to write as much code as possible and interface with the customers to make sure we understand what their needs are. I would say, at Microsoft, again, you have to have a basic understanding of technology in any of those roles, whether that's sales or marketing. You at least have to understand kind of, how we use software to solve problems.
Perfect. So that probably goes right into the last question I have from our students. And should I be good in STEM courses to work in the tech industry?
I would say it definitely helps. And again, it goes back to what you want to do. If you just want to sell software but never write a line of code, being good at STEM, of course, is going to help you at least build that foundation. But it's not you have to continue it forever. But I would say, every single job nowadays, whether that's, manufacturing, whether that's, healthcare, whether it's dentistry, you name it out there, every job nowadays, I should say every 99.9999 follow that 9 out for a long times, has technology that they rely on. And so being familiar and being comfortable around technology, it's going to help you in any job you do. So I would say if you have an opportunity to get involved in STEM courses, take them. Like that's only one more kind of arrow you can put in your quiver to build that resume up and to allow yourself a broader opportunity to find the job you're looking for. Because again, everything's relying on technology now, and so the more you understand it, the better off you're going to be and the more opportunities you're going to have.
Awesome. Are there any wisdom that you would like to give our students that they didn't ask? Any parting words of wisdom?
I'd say, enjoy this time. There'll be plenty of time for work, and even during when you decide to go directly into college, or you're going to a trade, or whatever it be after high school. But enjoy the time you have at high school, because it's a really magical time. You're going to meet some of your best friends there. You're going to learn so much. You're going to see these teachers who are every day coming in trying to make you a better individual. And so it's kind of cheesy to say, but these are some really good years. And I encourage you, take a step back and really think about, wow, like I have the opportunity to be with my friends on an ongoing basis and do really cool things throughout the day. That's a wonderful time. The other thing is, I say this to everybody, is my sister's a teacher. I always say, give teachers some love. Like, it's one of the hardest jobs. And we pay sports athletes way too much money, and teachers not enough money at all to live. And so even a simple thank you to one of your teachers, I think, goes a long way, because they're doing that out of love for you guys. They're there because they want to make better individuals, and they're giving their heart and soul every single day. So show them some love when you can. And the third thing is network. So back to my point, like, send me a request on LinkedIn. Let's get connected. I think the bigger and broader you can grow your network now, think of a compound interest. It's basically the same philosophy. You'll grow that network so broad by the time you're either done with high school and you're going to the workforce, or you're going to college afterwards. You're going to have an opportunity to have so many individuals that when it comes time to figure that next step in your career, you're going to know someone who either is in that industry or can find you someone who is.
That is such great advice for our young people who are watching this. And yes, go thank your teacher. That is awesome.
And of course, Washington Business Week rocks. I love Washington Business Week. It's a great opportunity. You're building a network. You're meeting friends. This is question around, hey, what are additional things I can do? Business Week. That's a great way to get involved.
Yes, I love it. Great plug there, Mac. We will have some virtual programs coming up in April and the summer. And we do hope that you can join us and find your mentor in your group with Washington Business Week. So again, thank you to Mac and Microsoft, and thank you to PEMCO Insurance for sponsoring our speaker series. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week for our next speaker. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks.